Hail and welcome to Heathen Hearth, the show where we cook recipes inspired by the historic and ethnographic imagination. This week, we're cooking a sourdough bread that's a mix of rye and spelt flours called maslin. This week, we're going to be making bread. Now, this bread that we're going to be making is called maslin. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Your mileage may vary by time period or dialect, I suppose. This is the name given to a mixed bread of two different kinds of flours. It's part rye flour and part wheat flour. Now, the wheat flour can be whole wheat. What I've chosen for this recipe is spelt flour, and I'll explain why a little bit later. Now, this recipe, it's a very basic type of bread, and because of the addition of rye, it makes it a rougher and coarser bread, usually one perhaps used by the lower classes, depending on the society and the location. This is a type of bread that could be one that was eaten everywhere from ancient Rome all the way until modern times in Europe. The name, though, however, comes from the Middle Ages and the late Middle Ages into the Tudor period, when this bread was very, very common amongst city dwellers in London, and particularly those who were not of the most wealthy rank in society. It was a daily bread. Now, I'm going to be making these loaves into round shapes so that I can use them for bread bowls, and you'll see why in another episode of Heathen Hearth. So let's get started. Here we have our ingredients. We have our 250 milliliters of whole rye flour. We also have the same amount of spelt flour. Spelt is wheat. However, it's a variety of wheat that is much older. It's more similar to the types of wheat that were used during the Middle Ages and even before that. So it's a type of wheat that has the characteristics and flavors of more ancient wheat. We also have here some sea salt, and you'll notice it's gray salt, so it has a lot of the impurities that modern refined and iodized salts don't have, so it has a different flavor. We also have here my sourdough starter. So this may look a little bit scary. This is wild yeast and bacterial culture. That's what a sourdough is, and it's living on some flour that's already in there and a slurry of water. That's all that's in it. I just took this out of the fridge this morning, and it smells great. It has a sort of yeasty and fruity smell to it, and very alcoholic actually, in fact. So as you can see here from the side of the jar, there was around 400 milliliters in there. I'm going to take 2/3 of that, so about 300 milliliters, and I'm going to add it to both of these flours. I'm going to hold the salt off until later. And then we're going to add water to reach around the same consistency. And then we'll wait for that yeast to bloom. And that will be our first step of making the bread. In goes the rye flour. In goes the spelt. And the sourdough starter. Whoa, that's a great smell. And about 500 ml of water. I'm going to wrap this up so that nothing gets in it. We'll leave a little bit of space for the air to get out. Okay, now we leave that until the yeast starts working. There's the mixture of flour and sourdough starter. We have a few bubbles coming to the surface now. It's around 5 hours later. So you see this doesn't work nearly as fast as traditional yeast. However, it is working. There is an aroma to it, and we have the bubbles coming up. What I'm going to do is turn this into an actual dough rather than just having it as this sponge. And we'll mix in some more flour, and what I'm going to do is let that sit overnight to rise. So, as you can see, I've transferred the sponge to the mixer here, and I have my two flours, light spelt flour and whole grain rye flour. I'm going to be adding them bit by bit to this sponge to create a dough, and then I'm going to knead that dough. You can't forget also to here add the salt, so I'll do that first. There we go. And now it's going to get loud when I put the mixer on. Basically, this is done. It's a bit sticky, but what I'm going to do is I have this bowl here, and it is completely greased up. So, an ancient Roman might grease their bowl with olive oil, but since we're making more of a maslin loaf, Anglo-Saxon sort of style, medieval style, we're going to be doing it with butter. And that's already greased. You notice it's a bit sticky still. Tomorrow might have to modify this a bit. Well, but first we're going to see how it rises. I'm going to cover this with cling film and then let it rise overnight. It's been 24 hours now, and the dough has roughly doubled in size. Alright, so the plan now is to get this dough into small balls. Now, because it takes so long for this rye and spelt dough to rise, I'm not going to knead it very much. I'll just do the minimum amount to try to get it into a ball. This here is some spelt flour. I'm just going to dust my work surface a little bit. And we'll see how sticky this is. I've got parchment paper here to put it on so that I can slip it into the oven fairly easily. I'm taking about a handful of dough for each of these because I want to make them into the size of a small bowl but to hollow them out. Now, this is a little bit in the tradition of trencher bread during the Middle Ages. What they would do is bake bread that was specifically used as tableware, so that you would eat off of the slice of bread, and underneath the bread would be your tablecloth on your table. And there is no, that I know of, documented use of bread bowls, but it makes sense to use a bowl made out of a sort of a coarser style bread to do the same type of thing. Yeah, this is very, very dense. Who knows how it'll turn out? Maybe I could have probably proofed it at a higher temperature. I was only proofing at room temperature, so because I was slow ferment, I might have been able to proof this actually at regular bread proofing temperature, which is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so just above body temperature. Can't remember what it is degrees Celsius. I think 41 or something like that. Maybe I'll put in on the screen. I'll identify what the best temperature is for in Celsius. There we go. So out of that amount of bread, that amount of flour, we got 6 loaves, and this will be going into the oven into an oven of around 500 degrees on preheated ceramic stones, and there's going to be a pan of water in there as well. This mimics the type of oven that you would use in medieval times. Those types of ovens actually would have been wood-fired without a chimney, and then you rake out the coals and then put the loaves back in, and the residual heat is what cooks the loaves. So we have actually an oven like that at Ravensknoll, but I'm at home right now, so we're going to be cooking with the other method. Time for the bread to go in. Now, with these baking trays, you should get really nice crisp bread on the bottom, and with the water tray at the bottom, we should have nice crusts on the outside. Put this other one in as well. All right, it's been 15 minutes, so I'm gonna open the oven, get these breads out. First, we're gonna test to see if they're ready. So we'll turn it over. Hear that? That's a knock. Sounds hollow, then you know it's done. Well, they rose a little bit in the oven, that's good. So, a little bit cracked. I should have scored the tops of them instead, but it's not bad. It'll be great. So we'll let them cool down now, and cut them open once they're cool. They smell really good. They have a really the smell of rye, nice sour smell. Great. All right, so the bread is done, and it has this great smell that's really, really sour from the 24 hours of fermentation. It has a nice dark rye color, but it also keeps together because of the spelt. I've got a big slab of butter on there, and I'm going to try my taste test. I just love that taste. It's so much better than commercial bread. It's very dense though, but I'm used to dense breads. I like Danish style rye breads a lot. And the crumb is really, really moist, but the crust is exceptionally hard. And I think that's from the rye flour. For the remaining loaves, I think I'm going to put it in a plastic bag. That way the moisture from the interior will soften the crust, and it'll be probably better tomorrow, but just fabulously delicious. Actually, down in the comments, do you make your own bread? What type of recipes do you use? Do you use sourdough, or do you use natural yeast? What do you prefer? I'd love to hear from you. Until later, keep cooking. I hope you liked that video. Please give it a thumbs up down below, and I'd love to hear your comments as well. Also too, remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you get notifications. You might like this video as well, so check it out. There's also playlists, so you can check those out as well. Until next time, keep cooking.